Hello, welcome, good afternoon, welcome. My name is Leah Henderson, and I'm here to tell you today that the C word, that there can be good in it. Yes, there can. The C word, I couldn't even say it at first. That's why I called it the C word. Have you ever had a pain or an ache or maybe a colored splotch that caused you concern, that made you go on a thinking spree, wondering what it was? Could it be cancer? The American Cancer Society states on their website that over 1 million Americans are diagnosed with cancer every year. If you go on a thinking spree, all you'll do is stress yourself out. In 2007, my husband was one of those 1 million people. He was diagnosed with cancer. At first, though, he just couldn't swallow. We didn't have any insurance, so we had to go to the emergency room. The doctor there said the word mass. Since we didn't have any insurance, it took a couple weeks to get to a doctor, and then it was confirmed. The C word was official. It was cancer. He needed surgery. The hospital wanted $5,000 just to admit him. That doesn't include any testing or drugs or nursing or anything. On February 9th, 2007, he had a radical neck dissection. That is just what it is. They dissected his neck. From ear to ear was the scar. On the first surgery, they removed his voice box, so he couldn't talk. A day and a half later, the surgeon comes in and says, "Oh, by the way, we found another kind in there. We got to go back in." I wanted to hit him. Thinking sprees again. So they went back in, and with both surgeries, they took out his voice box, his thyroid, and 23 lymph nodes. After that, he needed chemo and radiation. 3 chemos and 33 radiations. The radiation alone was $49,000. Still no insurance. He couldn't talk. He lost over 80 pounds. Because of the surgery, his nose and mouth were not connected to his lungs anymore. He breathed through a hole right here in his neck. He couldn't wear t-shirts. He had to wear, so he could breathe. He had a feeding tube coming out of that hole. And since he lost over 80 pounds and couldn't talk, dry erase boards got chunked across the room in frustration. 2 weeks after chemo and radiation ended, we were on an airboat on Lake Weatherford. Now my husband can't swim. And remember, he breathes through a hole right here. Something was terribly wrong with the boat. I had on a life vest. I needed to hand him his life vest. I turned around, he was driving the airboat, and I handed it to him. When I did, the boat was sideways. I saw his foot on the side of the boat. It was going down, it was sinking. The next thing I remember, there's a blank space there, was he was right here. I was holding him. He had his life vest like this, and I am swimming, staring at his hole, keeping his hole out of the water as best I could, because he would drown. And I'm screaming, "Help! Help!" staring at his hole. And then a little green boat came by, and the man, he didn't stop. And then a turquoise and white boat came by, and I'm yelling, "We got to get him out of the water. If he gets water in his hole, he'll drown." And he came, he stopped, and we lifted him, and he's out of the water. Oh, what relief that was. Oh, that was a horrendous day. My next thought was for my purse. It had the keys in it. We needed to get home. It was floating on top of the water. So I got it and gave it to the man in the boat. And then I noticed that our drink bag was floating on top of the water. So I gave it to the man in the boat. We were all okay. It was over. 2 weeks after that, he broke his leg. Once again, a trip to the emergency room. They said it was a phenomenon from chemo. And I'm thinking, is the C word ever going to end? On the way home, we checked the mail. In the mail was a card. This card was backdated to 1988. This card meant that all his medical was paid for, retroactively. C word can be good. I just had to wait. But the biggest thing out of all this was my husband told me that he would go through all that over again for what it did for our marriage. So you see, the C word can be good. You just have to wait.